crappie on a 4-inch worm. Yep, they'll hit it, especially if you're finger jigging. I'm Dan Galusha and welcome to another edition of Dan's Fishing Tales. I'm going to talk to you today about what I consider the perfect finger jigging rod. Now, I've done lots of videos and articles and what have you on finger jigging, so I won't go into that a great deal. It's also, you want not just finger jigging, but also darting. And darting and finger jigging are similar, and like I said, look back at some of the videos and you'll see what I'm talking about. Pretty much any open face rod and reel combo will work for finger jigging. The only thing is it won't do the ultimate finger jigging, where you've got that perfect rhythm that you can create by just extending your finger and letting that line hit it. But to be the perfect rod, and what I've picked, by the way, is right here. You can see it. It's the Sam Heaton made by B&M. It's super sensitive. I almost couldn't get that out, but that's what it is. Well, I like it so much, and I've used a lot of different rods for that technique, but I like it so much I got a second one, and I'll show it to you right here. In fact, the only difference is I've got a B&M 100, a Pro 100 on here as far as a reel goes, and the reel here I've got a Handing M1. Both reels work just fine. And as long as that reel will hold in there, you're okay with the reel. That's not a big deal. But the rod, you have to have the right sort of action, which is a finesse type action, because you're using finesse plastics a lot. You can see right here what I've got on there. That right there is a natural forage bait, part of a natural forage bait drop shad. Now, I've probably got about half of it on there. The rest of it got all chewed up, and I put it on like that. So that comes out and makes it a little bit like a larger T-shad that I use a lot for finger jigging. Plastic bodies are the thing you really want to do. You can do it with a swim bait if you want, and sometimes that helps, but really a straight tail such as this, or just like a 4-inch finesse worm. And that's another thing. How good are these at fishing like a regular finesse worm, where you have the weight and the hook where you're going to be setting the hook pretty good, or doing the same thing with it, finger jigging a 4-inch worm. That's right, a 4-inch worm like the natural forage bait R4 or the one that Z-Man has. They've got a finesse worm too. Both of those are straight, and I'll show it to you because I got on here so far today. In fact, I'll show you some pictures of fish here while I'm getting that, because so far today I've got 5, most of which have been on this R4 worm. I'm going to put my glasses on so that I get them out of my hand here. This is the R4 worm, and that's what I'm talking about. It's a straight tail. There's a lot of flex to that, but here's the trick. If you're going along with it and say this all gets chewed up, you can whack that off and make a shorter tail, and again, with your finger jigging, that doesn't make any difference because that tail will still be bobbing along. The idea is to get that jig. There's sometimes though that if you make it shorter, the fish won't hit it. There's times when if you don't shorten it, the fish won't hit it. So this is kind of a weird type of a thing when you start working with those and shortening, because you can't lengthen it. I will say that. You cannot lengthen it. You just have to put a new one on if you know the fish are only hitting that. But you can see how flexible that tail is back there on that head, and I'm using a B&M or a B fishing actually head that is a what they call a precision H2O, and I'm using an 1/8 ounce head on this, whereas that one that you've seen down there, I've got a 1/32 ounce head. Makes a little bit difference in the dropping. Another thing about this is it will work real good with the really tiny traps. That's a rattle trap, but it's the tiny one. When it's only about that big, this will work fine. It'll work with any of your finesse type things. I can put a float on this if I want, and say put a nice fishing jig on it and drift it for bluegills, crappies. That's what you want. You want to make the perfect rod to be able to fish for more than just one species. I have mainly caught bass, and does it handle a bigger bass? Yes, it does. It takes you a little bit longer to get it in, yes, because you got quite a flexible tip, but it's not a buggy whip tip where I can take it and bend it clear down here and touch the butt. But it will handle bass, and that's what you want, a rod that'll take care of big crappie, bluegill, and bass and anything else that might come along. You might not be fishing for it, especially if you're finger jigging. I would say that 98% of the time you're fishing for one of those other species I told you, but mainly crappie and also the bass. I do a lot of finger jigging for bass because when it comes down to really finesse, just like it is now, and I'd already showed you some photos there that we caught today, and I'm going to be fishing some more here just shortly after I get done talking to you about that. But again, this is a Sam Heaton super sensitive rod that is put out by B&M, and this is what I'm picking as my perfect finger jigging rod. And as I said, you want something that's going to cover it all, and this really does. Really like these rods very, very well. And they are mainly for a lighter line, I must say that, but what I use on these with these is usually like nanofill or a braid, and at that rate I can go with a little bit heavier line. In fact, both of these I showed you here, I have 8 and 10 pound test line, so I'm not going it. These rods are rated up to 10 pound test line, but with that braid and with that nanofill, it's a thinner line, so it's going to be like a lower pound test, probably like around 6 pound tests, 4 and 6 pound test, and that would be perfect for these. As I said, I really like these. These are a 2-piece rod, by the way, and I want to mention that because they're also in the 7-foot range on a rod. So when you get up to 7 feet, you got a little bit more flexibility too. You got longer casts. There's another point. How well is it as casting? You get a short rod, maybe it's great for finger jigging, but for long casts or something like that, or if you want to dip it into the brush, it's not quite long enough. So there's several factors you want to look at on these to find the perfect finger jigging rod, because it's not just for finger jigging. And this is it, the Sam Heaton B&M Fishing. It's one of their rods, and if you can't find them in your local store or somewhere like that, just go straight to the website and they'll tell you if they're in stock, because you can purchase them right off the B&M Fishing website. So until next time, get out of the water and enjoy a great day of fishing.